Hello and welcome once again to one of your favorite podcasts. I know you have a couple of them, and thank you for this being one of them as well. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for tuning in, for listening to these wonderful episodes. Thank God we have the opportunity to be able to do this and the opportunity also to have wonderful guests with us. So today in this episode, we have a very special guest, one of the fellow amazing people in our cohort for this program that we're running right now, and in this classroom settings that everything's just so beautiful. We have Johanna Barajas. Hello, Johanna. How are you? Thank you for showing up tonight, to this podcast.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. So, Joanna, it's awesome because I've gotten to talk to you a couple times over the past couple semesters, and I've gotten to hear a couple things that you've shared to the class about you and your personal story and your journey through this whole thing and how you've gotten here. So please do share with us again for everybody else out there to hear. Remember, this podcast, it's out there, people from all over the world be listening to this. Thank you to everybody out there listening. Appreciate it. Johanna, go ahead.
So, hi, everybody. My name is Joanna. I was born in Mexico and I came with my parents to the US. I was brought very small, 8 months. So, I know the US to be my home. That's the only home I know.
Uh,
Um, I grew up in South Los Angeles. Uh, Very hard, very tough neighborhoods.
South LA.
Um,
You got South LA
mhm.
over here.
South LA, South LA. I loved it. It has a lot of history. But I believe that the reason I'm here now is because of all the people that have been part of my life.
Hmm.
Um, I met an amazing social worker, school social worker in my high school, who, for the first time, I was able to connect with her because she was Mexicana,
Mhm.
because she knew how to connect with my struggles. As a Mexicana, as a brown girl in South LA, who
Yes.
wanted to go to college. But with all of that, I also had to struggle with being undocumented. So that for me is something powerful. Being
Mhm.
undocumented is not something I chose to do. It's not like nobody chooses this path,
Uh-huh.
and I say God put this in front of me for a reason. And I believe it's a privilege reason. It was a tough one, but I learned how to hustle in a way,
Yes.
how to fight for social justice for others in the immigrant community, use my voice, most important. I think that was a key factor in my journey. How do I use my voice and how do I use my story to encourage, to teach, to counsel, fight for different laws for our community, for human rights, most of all, and and to get money. So I use it for scholarships.
Mhm. Yeah.
But she was the reason that I wanted to go into social work in my minor. So I went into social work as a minor. I did that. I graduated from Cal State LA in 2013, and there went. I worked for the city. I worked with the youth workforce department, different nonprofits, just a very diverse population of clients that I had. And from there, I was able to move for the next almost 2 years into a counseling position as a college counselor,
Wow.
college advisor for first generation college students, which is another impactful role.
Yes.
The pandemic happened, and a lot of the nonprofits were hit really hard because of their status of 501c and grants being lost. So unfortunately, my role, my position was also cut because of budget cuts. Um, and in that moment, I kind of pushed back and said, "What am I gonna do? I've always worked since I was 13 years old. I always found a way. I didn't know what to do, and my husband was like, 'This is your chance. Go to grad school.'" And I looked at him with fear in my eyes because
Wow.
I didn't know if I had it in me. I was scared. Um, I was no longer undocumented, so I'm no longer undocumented. I went from being undocumented to DACA, so that's the deferred action for childhood arrivals. So that's having a work permit,
Hmm.
and now I'm a legal resident. So my immigration journey itself was a healing journey for me that I had to process. But one thing I didn't want to do in life, you choose the battles you want to fight.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go to grad school as an undocumented student. I give props to all of my brothers and sisters in the immigrant community who are undocumented, who have done that, who have done it at prestigious universities, at different Cal states, at different
Hmm.
level of universities. I just didn't feel that I had the strength to do it again.
And like just to hear a little bit more on that, when you said going into like the grad program, like as just with the permit and just with the, how did that for you? Like, what did that feel for you? Like, what did you think? Was it about yourself or like what others would think about you, or what was it that was going through your head?
um, to go into the grad program, I was already, thankfully, um, a U.S. legal resident. And so I feel privileged. I feel privileged to be able to qualify for financial aid, FAFSA, loans, grants. There's
Hmm.
money out there that is very limited if you don't have a social, right? Or if you don't have a legal status. So I think that even gave me more of the courage, like, I'm going to apply to a private school. Like, I went from a Cal State and I'm going to make sure I go into a private school. And CBU was one of my top schools just because of the program itself, the PCC, the professional clinical counseling um, option that we had at a lower cost too compared to other universities.
Yeah.
And I remember applying to other schools as well. And I remember the year that I got accepted. So I got the acceptance letter
Uh-huh.
the morning of my birthday.
No way. That's
Yes.
beautiful. Oh man, hard to forget that, huh?
It was such
What a
a
blessing.
beautiful blessing. Like,
Yes.
God really listened. I
Here's your
worked,
birthday gift.
yes. And if I could go back and tell that little brown girl in me from South LA who came so far
Mhm.
that it was going to be okay,
Yes.
that you're going to go to grad school, you're going to go to grad school with your head up high, you're not going
Wow.
to worry about it financially. I was able to get $10,000 worth of scholarships and grants. Um, I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't believe her.
Uh-huh.
But it's such a beautiful journey for me because I'm able to do it. I'm the first in my family to graduate with a bachelor's degree.
Mhm.
I'm going to be the first in my family to receive a master's degree and go
That
into
is
a profession
amazing.
that's like calling to me. Yeah.
Yes. So you're setting the example, you're setting you're setting up the path, not just for your family, but for many others out there, as a fellow Latino, as a fellow Hispanic, there are many, that are in, that's awesome, it's great, but there are also many that are not. And it's just it's something like it seems sometimes it's not in our culture, it's like not in our nature. It's like, oh, we're kind of sometimes in that point, we're like, I don't think it's for me, like we don't feel like sometimes we fit into this type of, but it's so awesome to hear that and for you to be able to start setting up that foundation, like for your family and like you being the first and then looking at you. So what do your cousins and stuff say and what do they think about you then, like at family meetings and stuff, or like what do they call you?
They, I'm also the only one who didn't have papers. So everybody else was born here. So it's like they always say like, well, we don't have a reason not to, right?
Uh-huh.
They have the privilege to be able to qualify for so many resources. Um, but I'm there to support any of my family members, any of my cousins Even the old adults, the tias and the tios, my
Hmm.
mom, my grandparents, with any resources. I'm always that person who's, I need help with this or I need help with that. Even friends always reaching out to me. I've always been such an organic person where people I'm approachable,
Yeah.
like can just come into me and just ask me, questions about, I need help with school or college, or, I'm helping my neighbor's daughters apply to universities, because nobody else in their family has done that, you know. I even help different individuals who are undocumented apply for the Dream Act, and
Hmm.
go through their work permits, and do Zoom meetings with that. I've always lent my time and my expertise to anybody in need. I don't say no, and if I say no, it's for my own mental health. It's for my own, like, let me take a breather for a
Yeah.
moment before I continue to give back.
Yeah, and I could hear that, I could feel why the stuff that you've talked about, things that you shared with us in class, and you've talked about yourself a bit. Now I understand, and now many more people are going to understand more about you, of where your passion and where your drive comes from, and why you're so dedicated, and your aspirations to what you want to do. That's amazing, to come from that, from that upbringing, and like to be able to accomplish, and to be like now where you are, and to be like within your family, like the first one, and actually the one that wasn't born here, the one that was born in Mexico, but you're like just leading in such a beautiful way that like it's starting to make sense. I remember now all the things that you were sharing in class last semester, now where all that's coming from. So that's where all that desire and that passion comes from, helping others, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's the foundation. It's my drive. It's who I am. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like,
Yeah.
it makes me feel, even when I'm at the store. Sometimes people think I work there. I'm like, no, I don't work here, but I can help you.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Oh man. And the thing also, it's like, it feels like it's a gift from God, So when it's that gift from God, it's not like you feel like you owe him. It's like you're just grateful, right? And that's what I
Mhm.
sense in you, that it's just that gratefulness because of the opportunity that was provided for you and that God granted you. And like now it's like, how could you not want to give back, right? God gives us
Mhm.
this, God gives us these talents, right? I give
Yeah.
to do what? What do we do with these talents? It's to multiply them,
Mhm.
right? To do our work, and to do our, so that one day, when God says, hey, what did you do with your talents, right? What did you do with
Mhm.
all that special stuff that I gave you and these opportunities, right? I don't know. That's
Mhm.
how I think about it. It's crazy because I've been thinking about that for like the last couple weeks. And I've been talking about that here and there, actually more here and there. Okay, I messed up on that one, but I've been talking about it a lot. And it's crazy because it's like, I don't know, I'm just feeling that responsibility, especially like listening to you and like what I'm doing. It's just like, I just feel like it's our responsibility to do it, because it's like we
Mhm.
have these gifts, we have these, and what are we doing with them, right? It's
Mhm.
wonderful. Like that. So awesome. So like at this point now, right, so you have 2 more semesters to go, this one that we're in, and one more following. And then wow, and then just like that. Congratulations, right?
Yes. And I did it 1 year pregnant.
That is right. Yes. I remember, sorry, I forgot about that. Yes. Oh my God.
Yes.
Whew, man.
I put that into God. I was like, I'm gonna get into grad school. Now I'll be pregnant my first year of grad school, because I was not gonna do that in my second year. And we really wanted to expand in our family. And we planned it, and I made sure we planned it.
Hmm.
And my son's due date was on spring break, so it literally worked out.
Perfect. It all worked out. It all worked out.
Yes,
Well, and
perfect.
listen, just in case if your husband listens to this, I gotta give him a shout out, because that was amazing. That's an awesome husband you have right there. For him to encourage you and to tell you and to push you, to give you the opportunity, like, hey, no, you go to grad school, you go, you follow. Whoa, when I heard that, I was like, man, that's amazing. Hold on, let me take some notes. That's amazing. So shout out to him. What's his name?
Alberto.
Alberto, great job,
Yes,
man. That's awesome. Great job, Alberto.
yes,
That's amazing, right?
Yes, I think if he wouldn't have said it the way he said it, if he wouldn't have given me the strength, even now, like we always check on each other. We make sure, we're good before we go to bed,
Mhm.
that he's not carrying any stress and I'm not carrying any stress. I give him mine and he gives me his, and we are able to talk, but him giving me the strength to not just apply but believe in myself. I know that I can do amazing things, but for your partner to see it, to not question it, to say you don't even have to work financially, just take care of the kids, the home, the family, and focus on your school, is like, okay, like this couldn't have come in a better place, in a better
Yes.
time as well. So everything literally worked out, you know, for the best.
That is amazing. It's so beautiful to hear. That is such a blessing and such an experience, to be able to share that and to, we all have different stories and we all have like our own personal battles and things that but at the end of the day, right? The thing is like, how bad do you want it, right? Because
Hmm.
opportunities, in one way or another, they're gonna present themselves, and some
Hmm.
opportunities are clearer than others. But it's really like, as I'm like, in that point too, like wow, like what we've accomplished, how far we've gotten, and now okay, where are we going? And now what we're doing is like, man, like my hunger and like my drive and my want is just getting even bigger, It's
Hmm.
like, okay, this
Yeah.
is, I know why I got into this now because we're
Yeah.
like going through it, right? So like, I
Hmm.
guess like now moving on to talking about now for our internship, right? So how's your internship experience been? Where are you? And how's it been?
So I am at Volunteers of America, it's a nonprofit. It's really good. I didn't expect beforehand, like, when you think about internships and they prepare you internships, I was like, okay, I can work with adults and I can do family, couples or things like that. But I wasn't expecting children. And the only reason I challenged myself, because this was a challenge for me, was because in over my almost 10 years of experience in the world, though I work with families, low income families, I never got to work directly in the way of mental health or in the
Mhm.
environment of mental health with children, little ones, infants. I think the lower age was middle school age, where I
Mhm.
did my psychiatric social work internship in a middle school. So that was like the lowest age I worked with. Working with infants, I think my oldest client is 4.
Wow.
They're tiny.
Yes, that is.
And I really wanted to challenge myself, not just as a mother, but in the field, in the professional setting.
Yes, that
Because
is a
having,
challenge for
right?
sure.
Because having kids, dealing with your own kids is different than working in it in the field, you know? Um, and seeing the connection with the behavior of the child and
Mhm.
the environment where they're raised, the
Yes.
family they're raised in.
Reflection,
And
right? It's a
yes,
reflection.
and a lot of my work is, I also work with the parents.
Yes.
I'm working with a lot of moms,
And that's so hand in
especially.
hand, right? It's
Yes,
hand in hand. It
it's
has to
like
be.
you're bouncing the ball back and forth.
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of it is how do we end these cycles, these traumatic cycles, these generational toxic cycles
Hmm.
in our community, in the
Yes.
Latin community, in the Hispanic community, Mexican American community, whatever you define. How do we end
Yes.
that?
Yes.
How can I advocate for them to use your voice, use their story, use their own healing process to
Hmm.
better themselves, because I'm not going to be there forever, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So my goal has always been, I'm going to help you, but I'm going to give you the tools for you to continue to help yourself, your
Mhm.
children, and anybody else around you. Because when I'm not there, I want you to think about the resources I gave you,
Yes.
what you have for that.
Exactly. Yeah. And so far, like as you've been kind of like in that now, in those dynamics in that scenario, what do you see as something that is that's reoccurring and that occurs within the Hispanic Latino generational, kind of, what is it that happens, that passes down, that kind of creates all these, which they call stigmas, but like, we bring them to life because we do what the stigmas are, right? Like what happens?
Just number one is communication. I have adult mothers, women who don't know how to express emotions, because they're told you have to be strong, you have to be, poderosa, you have to make sure that you focus on your children, your children can see you cry. I hear a lot of that. I hear a
Mhm.
lot of, I can't tell my mom how I feel because she doesn't believe in therapy, or she doesn't believe in healing, or I don't know how to create healthy boundaries because my mom doesn't believe in that.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And so I'm teaching them, dear man, I'm teaching them how to use strategic communication forms, CBT forms, in Spanish when we
Mhm.
work on it in English, and then we also do it in Spanish. It's very important when we work on it in Spanish. When we speak in Spanish, it's how you say it that's going to be portrayed by the elderly in our community, whether that is respectful or not.
Yes.
So it's very key in training and working on the technique with my clients. Simple thing, even as to, I want us to work on it together. Quiero trabajar, junto con usted
Mhm.
y hablar sobre nuestros problemas en una
Yes.
manera saludable. That could be very disrespectful, come off very disrespectful to the elderly community in our in the Mexican culture, Latino culture, everything.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
how do we teach them that? So that's one of the biggest topics with all of my clients.
Yeah, and for those, that was Spanish, of course, and
Yes.
it's just the simple words like, you know what, hey, let's talk about this. There's some problems in your communication, but let's work together on it. Well, let's work together. We can do it. But when you say it in Spanish, it comes off a whole different. It's just
Yes.
completely different. It's like that's
Yes.
actually it sounds aggressive. Actually,
Yes.
like, you're telling me that what? What are you telling me? Yeah, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that because like for myself, I deal with Spanish speaking, and I do couples therapy with Spanish speaking, right? Spanish speakers. And it's amazing because that's like one of the first things that I really try to do right off the bat with the ones that I've had with Spanish speaking um, clients is just to build that rapport before anything, before like going into like diving into like talking about anything or the problem or anything, is just, kind of like doing that little dance, just trying to build that rapport, get to know me, let me get to know you, try to gain somewhat of your, just give me permission, just give me a little bit, just let me get in there a little bit, just trust me a little bit and tell me like how you feel after that, kind of like that. That's how I feel when I deal with my Spanish speaking uh community.
Yeah, and it's very diverse. Even with the population that we work with, I am from Jalisco, so my Spanish is very fast. Compared to, if I speak to a client who's Guatemalan or from Puebla or from El Salvador or Argentinian, and
Mhm.
their accent is super thicker. So it
Yeah.
takes me a while to kind of like understand it, or
Mhm.
some of the words don't translate in our languages,
Yeah.
right? So
Uh-huh.
it's like, okay, what word? This is the word, and they're looking at me like in Spanish when I say it, and they're looking at me like, oh, and I show it to them on like on Google, like this is
Mhm.
what this means in my language. Oh, okay, this is what we call it in my language.
Yes. I just had a session a couple of days ago, and I love it because I always do it right. I speak slower, of course, because I'm trying to process and I'm trying to translate what I'm trying to say, because I know it in English, so I'm trying to translate it in Spanish before I say it. But sometimes there's words that either you're not sure if that's the right way to say it, or you just can't say the right word, right? And what was it that I said? I kind of said a word that was close enough, but I said it, and it was awesome because they, oh no, yeah, but when they see that, I think really when you're just transparent like that, when they see you trying to say it but it's not, oh no, it starts creating some bond, like, like that's cool, like you're trying, and that's I take that as a very good sign, like that's how I feel.
Yeah, and I always let my parents or the clients that are just Spanish speaking as well know, like, I know Spanish, I'm bilingual. That doesn't mean that it's gonna the words that I say and in the professional world something doesn't translate. So sometimes give me a second, or give me a second, my mind is translating one word to the other, and it might take a time, or it might malfunction. I say this in Spanish and they
Yeah.
laugh. And,
Uh,
and they're like, oh, the cafecito hasn't hit, the coffee
yeah.
hasn't hit.
The
So
com-
just give me some time to process it. It's too early, but like they understand. They're not really focused on the big words and what strategy we're using or anything like that. They're just happy to just be there and for somebody
yes.
to listen to them,
Mhm.
and just give them resources.
Yeah. So from your experiences, what words of advice would you give to everyone out there, kind of when you're dealing with like different cultures and you're dealing with different ethnicities, and kind of like what would be one of your recommendations to like kind of when you're dealing with that situation right there?
My number one thing would always be staying humble to yourself and to the community you're serving. Um, Look at what are their needs. Look at Treat them as human beings, not as they've gone through a few obstacles, some of them to get to you, to get to us. And sometimes it just takes a very special person to not only connect with them, but to hear them out and to be able to empower them
Hmm.
back. And sometimes we're not able to empower everybody, right? I wish we can help everybody, and unfortunately that's not the case.
Yeah.
With some of the clients, and that's perfectly fine. But knowing that for me in this role, in this profession, I never forget who I am. I never forget where I come from. I am no better than anybody across from me. I practice with my mommy. I practice with my dad, because if I were to send them off to therapy, I would
Mhm.
expect that the therapist treats them the way I treat my mom and my dad. So that's how I see it.
Mhm.
Humbly treating them in that community sense, in that, you know, I don't know, like that very home, like that very like just honest.
Mhm.
Just be honest. If you can help them, you can help them. If there's no connection, there's no connection.
Yeah.
Let's not use it just for the paycheck or just for the insurance,
Mhm.
right? It's not gonna be a help for them or yourself either.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, be humble. Stay humble. That's awesome. I think that's a very very crucial factor of that allows us not just to be more of ourselves. Just to be more like approachable. But it's just that's what's needed because as you were mentioning, a lot of these clients, a lot of these people, and especially for us, like in the Spanish speaking community, this is like the first time they've ever even tried and seen this because usually for the Hispanic community, or at least I'm gonna tell you, in my family or the families that I know, you go see a counselor or you go see it's because you're crazy. That's the stigma, right? Oh, no, 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 no. You just
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to talk to anybody. No, no, you don't do that. It's just para locos. That's for crazy people, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
the stigma, the idea of it, right? But just to be able to just give them that sense of validation, right? Just to give them that sense of comfort that they could talk about their problems, that they could say the things that are in their heart, and that you're not going to judge them. You're not going to like look at them weird or do anything, but you're going to be like, it's gotta be hard. It's gonna be hard
Yeah.
to feel that.
Or even thinking that they have to be depressed or have anxiety or be sad,
Mhm.
like just to go to therapy. Like, no, you can go to therapy because you're angry, because you have too much on your shoulders, because you want to learn how to communicate, because you're undocumented and you have a lot of trauma with that, and you want to heal your own struggle, because of your immigration status, or because they came and through the caravana. I had a few clients, um, and they stayed in the immigration centers. That itself is a traumatic experience that needs to be
Yes.
healed and shouldn't be just pushed down, you
Mm-mm.
know. Um, So there's so many reasons why anybody should go to therapy. Postpartum, you just had a baby, you just got married. Many churches, many programs require couples to do certain
Yes.
counseling sessions before they get married or even after. And I think it's beautiful because you're able to establish kind of your relationship rules, your relationship standard before you become husband and wife, or
Mhm.
you know, or partner and partner, however anybody identifies.
Yeah.
We want to be inclusive. So I think it's understanding that the human mind and human emotions are diverse.
Mhm.
Therefore, our program, our experiences, and our field is going to look diverse.
Yes, definitely. Our surroundings are diverse, everything, life is diverse, and it's so
Hmm.
beautiful to see it within the field, the diversity and all that's occurring and that's happening, as we're moving forward and as we're like looking behind and we're seeing like those that are coming behind us, that are
Hmm.
following, it's like so awesome just to see all this growth and like this expansion. Now, with that said, for tonight, the topic we're gonna talk about a little bit, and we're gonna pass down, and this is kind of gonna be coming from you. We're gonna talk about decision making. Let's talk about decision making for a bit. Now, with the decision making, like ever since you've come to the program, let's say ever since you've been able to put on that, hey, this therapist, like kind of thinking now a little bit more outside of the box. Like for you, what is some ways for you that you make your personal like decision making, and where is some advice that you might have for some in their decision making, whether it's for like school, work, or like any environment?
I think for me, I always see it as, how is this going to benefit me?
Mhm.
How is this going to benefit my time? Um, what am I going to give in to give out? Right? Like kind of like those ways. I always see my time to be very valuable in anything I do. So, even having my kids, right? Their time with them, spending time with them to me is super crucial. So, and accepting certain events, my class schedule, coming down to even, booking sessions or even my social life, I have to see priority will be my family. Are they taking care of the times that I'm not going to be there? Who can take care of them? I have a really good support system. But I also don't want to strain them. I also want to make sure that everybody takes turns equally. So my number one is my family. If they're taken care of, then I'm able to do what I need to do. And I think that makes any decision that I have to make easier moving forward.
Good, that's good. So kind of like balancing everything out, right? Putting
Mhm.
priority and letting that be kind of like the main reason and the main of how you make that decision, if that those things are taken care of, right?
Yeah, that they're taken care of, but I'm also a very systematic learner, systematic person.
Uh-huh.
So it's my calendar.
Organizing,
Yes, I'm
organized.
very organized. My husband and I are very type A couple.
Uh-huh.
So our week is booked from Monday through Sunday. We already have activities completed.
Uh-huh.
What we're gonna do, what our work schedules and school schedules look like, where the kids are at, who has appointments, even our fridge, like it's literally like it's there and it has reminders so
Mhm.
that we're all, when we do have events, we're not rushing. That's the feeling I don't like, is that rushing feeling,
Yes.
because it creates so much anxiety, and that's something I've been able to learn how to cope. And
Mhm.
that's a learning technique I learned in my own therapeutic process. Is in order for me to lower the anxiety, is I have to prepare for not only the event, but that something bad can happen, right? Like a kid could be sick. My car couldn't be working. Something always is gonna unexpectedly happen, and I kind of prepare in case of that. But I think that organizing and using the technology we have in
Mhm.
today's world is beautiful.
Definitely. So I would say then your decision making is definitely influenced a lot by your organization. How when you're organizing, it makes your decision making a lot easier than I see.
Yes, and everything follows through all the time. Like I always get what I need to get because of that. Like, I don't know how else to say it. It needs to get done.
Yes,
It's gonna get done.
that's how you get it done. Okay, no,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's amazing. So organization, all the planning, everything, that's make sure that you get where you want and you get what you need. That's awesome. That's amazing. I'm taking notes here. Hold on, give me a second because I don't know. Sometimes I like to work under pressure, and that's kind of, I mean, it's good.
Oh,
Sometimes
and most
pressure.
important,
Tell me, go. Tell us.
doing it with a positive mindset. That's the most important thing I learned in my
Oh,
therapy process.
mm,
Don't think about the stress of it. Don't think about how it's gonna look. Don't think about what other people are gonna think about or the pressure of what other people are gonna think about. Going into anything that you do with a positive mindset. That just creates almost a better transition for each task, a better outcome, and for me, I see the positive in everything. And sometimes even when I hear like, oh, well, this gonna happen, like, no, 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 like, don't even say that. Don't even say that. Everything's gonna be okay. Like, we're gonna go forward. But I wasn't like this before.
yeah.
I always thought that the worst was gonna happen. And everything bad happened, and I always kind of was like, why does everything happen to me, as an undergrad and everything that was going on. But now going in and being an adult, going in with a positive mindset provides a better structure to that organization.
Yes, that's beautiful. And let's see, give us some words of wisdom. How do you change that if you have a negative mindset or some things happen and like your life is right now not in the best place. So you kind of have like that kind of dark, kind of a little bit negative mindset. Well, how could you switch that? How do you switch that into a positive one? What can you do?
You can do a few things. So for me, journaling didn't work out because it creates intrusive thoughts. It creates that, like, the hamster wheel, we call it, right? It goes and goes and goes, and you have all of these ideas and like, well, what if and what if and what if, and some things, what if this happens, what if something happens to me, or there's a bad energy about it, or I have a bad feeling about it. So for me, I for me, it was just creating content. Like, that's what worked for me. I'm such a creative person, so I was like, what can I create? I create
Hmm.
content for Pinterest. I create content for Canva. So I have passive income coming in from different content that I create through different um, social media outlets.
So what kind of content? Now I'm all curious. Now I'm like, what content did you create? Hold on, let me
I
see this.
do different, like, digital journaling and things that I've done for my wedding that, like, are electronic invites that,
Uh-huh.
just the art is there and sometimes the idea is there
Yeah.
and I need to take it out. And so I'm like, okay, let me just open it and let me just create it real quick and let me put it away. Or, I've never seen this before. Let me create this form of planner.
That's
And I'm
awesome.
playing with the idea and I'm creating it um for, like, immigration. I'm trying to create a project where I'm putting together mental health and immigration illustrations
Mhm.
to create empowerment, to create education, and to create, to be able to have something like that. Because if you Google a lot of the stuff, it's not there. If you use Canva, a lot of that stuff is not there. So I always try to fill in the gap. What is what is missing in this world that I can just put
Yes.
a little sparkle in?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's how
What's
I
missing?
am. Yes.
That is awesome. So you're taking all this creativity and you're doing creative products and you're putting them out there and you're selling them. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is so
So
good.
it's turning that thought into something that nobody can really judge. I'm not asking for feedback. I'm not asking for output. I'm not asking for anything. It's just going to be there. It's just, boom, I'm going to create it and it's just going to be there. And it's out of my mind now,
Wow.
or um, I've always just been, thankful for, God, just seeing my babies being healthy, myself being healthy, just little things. Sometimes I, just appreciate the little things. Instead of journaling, people can also just, I call them gray journals, or and I do this to my clients as well. It's just, instead of writing, just scribble, with different colors.
Mhm.
And I always add like glitter gel pens on it. So I'll have just scribble on a piece of paper, just or draw whatever you have to draw, whatever idea, whatever bad image you have in your head or bad word
Wow.
or that bad feeling, scribble it, let it out, move it, sit down, take a moment for yourself by either watching Netflix or doing something that's more of a self-care thing for the next 5 minutes. Don't open your phone and go to bed. And that then helps me not have those thoughts, not have my mind running in the night or in the morning. Sometimes, waking up, I'm able to go to sleep full night without waking up and be able to be restful as well because I don't have those intrusive thoughts or that hamster wheel going on even in the middle of the night.
Yes, definitely. Those were awesome points, kind of like there in the decision making, and then how to be able to change that, right? That negative mindset, that negativity, and translate it into something, and to hear kind of like how you do it and what you do, which actually brings you a little bit of extra profit, and it's just like, hey, yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. It's really cool. It's really cool. And listen, the other point I wanted to kind of touch on tonight also was, I remember you talk to me a little bit about, I don't know if you touched it there, but I know you have a project going on. And I think you mentioned that. Is that the project that you have going on that you've been
No,
working on? And then,
it's
okay,
different.
so go ahead. There you go. So tell, okay, you see, I remembered, but okay, it wasn't that one. All right. So share with us, please. What is the project that you have here going on?
So I've been, I was an advocate of social justice in my undergrad. So at Cal State LA, I was just one out of so many other powerful voices and student leaders in the organization and the movement of the undocumented student movement in California, where we organized for the California Dream Act, the Dream Act, which is a federal Dream Act, which is a separate Dream Act, just different legislations during that time frame that I was in college, fighting against increase of tuition. So that was another big thing that was happening in Cal State LA, doing a statewide organization and movement,
Wow.
organizing with other campuses and universities with other students, doing so much news and political media as well, to just pass immigration laws and laws itself to provide social justice, human rights, access to higher education, feasible for undocumented students and immigrant in our immigrant population as well. So that overall happened in the span of a few years. I was a big I was a disturber.
Great.
I
I was gonna
was
say,
a
I was gonna say
wild card.
advocate. I was gonna say advocate, but you said disturber. Okay.
Yes. um, yes,
Let's
la
go.
revolution, the
Wow,
revolution
viva.
continued, and
That
I
was
was in the
you. I knew I saw
forefront.
you somewhere. I knew I saw you somewhere. That was you on the news.
La revolución continua, and I
Uh,
was in the May 1st marches in downtown LA, those huge lines, moving those protests, um, calling out politicians. There's a news clip with me calling out politician. He was a House Senator Kennedy, I believe, on the
uh-huh,
Dream Act.
uh-huh.
I was flown a few times by House representatives in California to Sacramento, paid
Wow.
for by them
Look at you.
to represent South Central.
Hey,
And
everybody's hearing this. When you see her, please don't forget to get her autograph. Get it now while it's still for free.
so being so many opportunities to be part of NPR and just share my story there, share the movement, share what we were doing as different organizations. I was a part of a board of a nonprofit, and at 22, I helped and organized and ran a Centro Cultural Francisco Villa in South LA, where we provided a space for different organizations in the community to be able to organize, to educate. We had human rights, know your rights workshops with different immigration lawyers. We had educational resources, raise scholarships, ARRE, Association of Raza Educators, providing funding and scholarship opportunities for undocumented students in the community. I can name every organization I was a part of, but it's a big lie.
Oh my God. Yes, I can.
But being in Surge, Students United to Reach Goals in Education was one of the second undocumented organizations in the Cal State system. The first one was Dominguez Hills, it was Espiritu, then it was Surge. So now we have a professor who wants to document everything that happened during that time frame and have it in
Wow.
a digital archive in all the
Really?
CSU systems. So when there's, my story has been a part of different dissertations, different articles, 3 different books as well. Of
I'm
people,
gonna Google you right after we finish. I'm gonna Google you. I didn't even know this. I'm gonna Google you. That's it.
and and I'm excited. I'm excited because the next generation of students in the CSU systems or in the Cal State systems, in community colleges, in high schools, are gonna know what our movement was about. They're gonna know what we struggle, how our lives change forever because of these laws, and how we have set a foundation for them with the California Dream Act in providing financial aid to those who qualify in California,
Mhm,
right? I can only speak for California. There's other states as well with their own version of the Dream Act. But
mhm.
just having that and understanding that there was a group of people that look like them, right? Kind of like the Cesar Chavez movement, kind of like the Freedom Riders movement. I'm excited to be continue to be part of history and for them to know that they can continue this lucha, they can continue this fight because it's not over. They're still in the news. There's a lot of things going on still. There's still
Mhm.
no path to citizenship for many undocumented immigrants in the U.S. So we've just hit the tip of it. We haven't broken the iceberg, and I think that hopefully by hearing our stories, hearing our courage, hearing what we've done and where we are now, it's going
Yes.
to be something beautiful. It's going to be a Cal State. It's going to be an event. We'll share it with the Instagram on Instagram for those who want. But it's called Disruptors, and I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of it.
That is so amazing. I mean, to hear all that, it's amazing to, that's so wonderful that you are, you've been able to do and continue to do what you're doing. And it's just amazing. And it's such a blessing, right? To be able to hear that. And for those listening, right, to be able to take from this and just kind of wherever you are, at whatever point in life where you are, whether you're having a great time, whether everything is going well, or whether you're struggling and everything is kind of seems like it's just closing in. It's like listening to this just kind of gives you that sense of, hey, keep going forward. I mean, it's there's still going to be opportunity. There's still things there to be able to accomplish, and they're there. You just have to just stay strong and keep moving forward.
Mhm.
Wow. So again, just for those, so you can Google her, right? Just Google her, it's Johanna Barajas, Google her, and then, when you see her in person, hey, get the autograph, do all that good stuff, let her know. So awesome to hear that you've done all that and you continue to do it. So Johanna, just with to close up, I mean, thank you. It's been so wonderful. I mean, I'm really kind of a little speechless, I can't really come after that. That was strong. So I would just say, just one more last thing. What would you give to our undergrads, and to people who are thinking about coming into this counseling psychology or getting into this type of, job site and stuff like that? Like what advice would you give them through their process that would help them out a lot?
Build your support. Build on that. I think that by building on their support, having a set foundation for their support and the reason why they want to go into this, it's gonna make the experience, it's going to make the journey, I think, more special. And remember who you're doing it for. If it's for yourself, it's amazing. If it's for your family, that's amazing as well. Remember who you're doing it, because I think when you look back and you see who you're doing it for, you can move forward. My mom always tells me in Spanish, but I'm gonna say it in English. she always tells me, when you succeed, we succeed. When you push forward, we push forward,
Mm.
you know? And I see that now, and I can look back and look at her and look at my daughter and look at the generations that are looking at me to continue moving forward. So I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for my family. But most important, I'm doing it for my community because I'm excited to be another statistic of a Mexican American mujer, brown, who looks like a lot of the little girls in our community. And I'm excited to share that it's going to be okay for them and provide them with the resources to continue to push forward.
That is definitely so wonderful. And all I could do is just wish you nothing but the best and blessings to you and through your
Yeah.
journey that's going to continue. And it's so awesome that we're all going to be able to witness it as well. So definitely God bless. Thank you so much for your time. And I appreciate it to everybody out there listening. Thank you so much for tuning in to one of your favorite podcasts. Sit and relax. And like we just did, let's talk. Thank you so much. You have a great one. God bless. Tune into the next episode. And please, recommend others to hear this and share this with others as well. Thank you so much and God bless. Goodbye.